I offer my obeisances to the Supreme Lord Krishna, who is non-different from speech of the devotion incarnation, devotion manifestation, pure devotion, devotional duty. Glory to the all merciful Ananda and Mohammed. I am made in new lives, and they are my connection, and we receive our everyday to In the temple of jewels of the Vrindavan, underneath the desire for the truly honorable, served by the most confidential associates, sit upon an open throne, and offer the humble obeisances. Srila Prabhu, who originated in the transcendental level of the Rasa stands on the shared pillar in the Ram Sri Vada and attracts the attention of the coward dancers with the sound of his cellular flute, and we all confer upon us their benediction. Jai Jai Shri Krishna Jai Nanda Jai Chandra Jai Bhola Bhakta Vrinda Glory to Shri Krishna Glory all glory to the devotees of Sri Guru and Sri Gora, Lord Chaitanya. These three deities of Vrindavan, Madana Mohana, Govinda, and Gopinath, have absorbed the heart and the soul of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, followers of Lord Chaitanya. I worship their lotus feet, for they are all the lords of my heart. The author of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita offers his respectful obeisances unto the three deities of Vrindavan named Sri Radha Madana Mohana, Sri Radha Govinda Deva, and Sri Radha Gopinathji. These three deities are the life and the soul of Bengali Vaishnavas, or Gaudiya Vaishnavas, who have a natural aptitude for residing in Vrindavan. The Gaudiya Vaishnavas, who strictly follow in the line of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, worship the divinity by chanting transcendental sounds meant to develop a sense of... What? What did I do? Oh, here? The Gaudiya Vaishnavas, who follow strictly in the line of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, worship the divinity by chanting transcendental sounds meant to develop a sense of one's transcendental relationship with the Supreme Lord, a reciprocation of mellows, rasas, of mutual affection, and ultimately the achievement of the desired success in loving service. These three deities are worshipped in three different stages of one's development. The followers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu scrupulously follow these principles of approach. Gaudiya Vaishnavas perceive the ultimate objective in Vedic hymns composed of 18 transcendental letters that adore Krishna as Madana Mohana, Govinda, and Gopijana Vallabha. Madana Mohana is he who charms Cupid, the god of love. Govinda is he who pleases the senses and the cows, and Gopijana Vallabha is the transcendental lover of the gopis. Krishna himself is called Madana Mohana, Govinda, Gopijana Vallabha, and countless other names as he plays in his different pastimes with his devotees. The three deities, Madana Mohana, Govinda, and Gopijana Vallabha, have very specific qualities. Worship of Madana Mohana is on the platform of reestablishing our forgotten relationship with the personality of Godhead. In the material world, we are presently in utter ignorance of our eternal relationship with the Supreme Lord. Pango refers to one who cannot move independently by his own strength, and Manda Mete is one who is less intelligent because he is too absorbed in materialistic activities. It is best for such persons not to aspire for success in fruitive activities or mental speculation, but instead simply to surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The perfection of life is simply to surrender to the Supreme. In the beginning of our spiritual life, we must therefore worship Madana Mohana so that he may attract us and nullify our attachment for material sense gratification. This relationship with Madana Mohana is necessary for neophyte devotees. When one wishes to render service to the Lord with strong attachment, one worships Govinda on the platform of transcendental service. Govinda is the reservoir of all pleasures. When by the grace of Krishna and the devotees one reaches the perfection in devotional service, he can appreciate Krishna as Gopi Jana Vallabha, the pleasure deity of the damsels of Raja. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained the mode of devotional service in 3 stages, and therefore these worshipable deities were installed in Vrindavan by different Goswamis. They are very dear to Gaudiya Vaishnavas there, who visit the temples at least once a day. Besides the temples of these 3 deities, many other temples have been established in Vrindavan, such as the temple of Radha Damodar of Jiva Goswami, the temple of Shamashundar of Shyamananda Goswami, the temple of Gokul Ananda of Lokanath Goswami, and the temple of Radha Ramana of Gopala Bhatta Goswami. These are 7 principal temples over 400 years that are the most important of the 5,000 temples now existing in Vrindavan. Gaudiya indicates the part of India between the southern side of the Himalayan mountains and the northern part of the Vindhya hills, which is called Aryavarta, or the land of the Aryans. This portion of India is divided into 5 parts or provinces: Pancha Desha, Sarasvata, Kashmir and Punjab, Punjab, Kubja, Uttar Pradesh, including the modern city of Lucknow, Madhya Gauda, Madhya Pradesh, Maithila, Bihar, and part of Bengal, and Utkala, part of Bengal, and the whole of Orissa. Bengal is sometimes called Gauda Desha, partly because it forms a portion of Maithila, and partly because the capital of the Hindu king Raja Lakshmana, Sena, was known as Gauda. This old capital later came to be known as Gaudapura and gradually Mayapur. The devotees of Orissa are called Udiyas, and the devotees of Bengal are called Gaudiyas, and the devotees of southern India are known as Dravida devotees. As there are 5 provinces in Aryavarta, so Dakshinatya, southern India, is also divided into 5 provinces, which are called Pancha Dravida. The 4 Vaishnava acharyas, who are the great authorities of the 4 Vaishnava disciplic successions, as well as Sripad Shankacharya of the Mayavada school, appeared in the Pancha Dravida provinces among the 4 Vaishnava acharyas, who are all accepted by the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Sri Ramanuja Acharya appeared in the southern part of the Andhra Pradesh at Mahabhutapuri. Sri Madhvacharya appeared as Pajakam near Vimanagari in the district of Mangalore. Sri Vishnu Swami appeared at Pandya, and Sri Nimbarka appeared at Mungera Patana in the extreme south. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted the chain of disciplic succession from Madhvacharya, but the Vaishnavas in his line do not accept the Tattvavadis, who also claim to belong to the Madhva Sampradaya. To distinguish themselves clearly from the Tattvavadi branch of Madhva's descendants, the Vaishnavas of Bengal prefer to call themselves Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Sri Madhvacharya is also known as Sri Gauda Purnandana, Ananda, And therefore the name Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya is quite suitable for the disciplic succession of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Our spiritual master, Om Vishnu Pada, Sri Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj, accepted initiation in the Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. Guru Vaishnava Bhagavan Tineda Smarana. In the beginning of this narration, simply by remembering the spiritual master, the devotees of the Lord, and the personality of Godhead, I have invoked their benedictions. Such remembrance destroys all difficulties and very easily enables one to fulfill his own desires. Say Mangalacharya Haya Sri Vidya Samisha. Just do here to say Namaskara. The invocation involves three processes: defining the objective, offering benedictions, and offering obeisances. Namaskara Samyana Vishashe Rupe Dui Tat. The first two verses offer respectful obeisances generally and specifically to the Lord, who is the object of worship. Tritya shlokete kari vastere nirdashe yahahirete jani pora tadveda vidisha. In the third verse, I indicate the absolute truth, who is the ultimate substance, which, with such a description, one can visualize the supreme truth. Oh, right. Hare Jakata Ishvarada Sarvata Magiye Krishna Chaitanya Prasada. In the fourth verse, I have invoked the benediction of the Lord upon all the world, praying to Lord Chaitanya for his mercy upon all. In the verse, I have also explained the eternal reason for the Lord Chaitanya's incarnation, but in the fifth and sixth verse, I have explained the prime reason for his advent. In these six verses, I have described the truth about Lord Chaitanya, whereas in the next five, I have described the glory of Lord Nityananda. Aradui shloke advaita tatvakayana arade panchatared. The next two verses describe the truth of Advaita Prabhu, and the following verse describes the Panchatattva, the Lord, his plenary portion, his incarnation, his energies, and his devotees. These 14 verses, therefore, offer auspicious invocations and describe the supreme truth. Sabashota Vaishnavare Kare Namaskara. Hey Sabashlokare Kare Artha Vichara. I offer my obeisances unto all my Vaishnava readers as I begin to explain the intricacies of all these verses. I request all my Vaishnava readers to read and hear with rapt attention this narration of Sri Krishna Chaitanya as inculcated in the revealed scriptures. Purport: Lord Chaitanya is the absolute truth, Krishna himself. This is substantiated by evidence from the authentic spiritual scriptures. Sometimes people accept a man as God on the basis of their whimsical sentiments and without reference to the revealed scriptures. But the author of Chaitanya Charitamrita proves all his statements by citing the Shastras. Thus he establishes that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna Guru Bhakta Shakti Avatara Pakashaya Rupe Karena Vishna. Lord Krishna enjoys by manifesting himself as a spiritual masters, the devotees, the diverse energies, the incarnations, and the plenary portions. They are all 6 in 1. I therefore worship the lotus feet of these 6 diversities of the one truth by invoking their benedictions. Vande Purunisha Bhaktan Isha Ishvatan Tat Krishna Chaitanya Samyatam. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the spiritual masters, the devotees of the Lord's incarnations, his plenary portions, his energies, and the primeval Lord himself, Sri Krishna Chaitanya. Purport. Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami has composed this Sanskrit verse for the beginning of his book, and now he will explain it in detail. He offers his respectful obeisances to the 6 principles of the absolute truth. Gurun is plural in number because anyone who gives spiritual instructions based on the revealed scriptures is accepted as a spiritual master. Although others give help in showing the way to beginners, the guru who first initiates one with the Maha Mantra is to be known as the initiator, and the saints who give instructions for progressive advancement in Krishna consciousness are called instructing spiritual masters. The initiating and instructing spiritual masters are equal and identical manifestations of Krishna, although they have different dealings. Their function is to guide the conditioned souls back home, back to Godhead. Therefore, Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami accepted Nityananda Prabhu and the 6 Goswamis in the category of Guru. Isha Bhaktan refers to the devotees of the Lord like Sri Srivasa and all other such followers who are the energy of the Lord and are qualitatively non-different from him. Ishvatarakan refers to Ishvakatarakan refers to acharyas like Advaita Prabhu, who is an avatar of the Lord. Tat Prakashan indicates the direct manifestation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Nityananda Prabhu and the initiating spiritual master. Chakti refers to the spiritual entities, Shaktis of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Gadadhar, Damodar, and Jagadananda belong to this category of internal energy. The 6 principles are differently manifested but all equally worshipable. Krishna Das Kaviraj begins by offering his obeisances unto them to teach us the method of worshipping Lord Chaitanya. The external potency of Godhead, called Maya, can never associate with Lord, just as darkness cannot remain in the presence of light. Yet darkness, being but an illusory and temporary covering of light, has no existence independent of light. I first offer my respectful obeisances at the lotus feet of my initiating spiritual master and all my instructing spiritual masters. Purport. Srila Jiva Goswami, in his thesis Bhakti Sandarbha 202, has stated that uncontaminated devotional service is the objective of pure Vaishnavas, and that one has to execute such service in the association of other devotees. By associating with devotees of Lord Krishna, one develops a sense of Krishna consciousness and thus becomes inclined toward the loving service of the Lord. This is the process of approaching the Supreme Lord by gradual appreciation in devotional service. If one desires unalloyed devotional service, one must associate with the devotees of Sri Krishna, for by such association only can a conditioned soul achieve a taste for transcendental love and thus revive his eternal relationship with Godhead in a specific manifestation and in terms of the specific transcendental mellow rasa that one has eternally inherent in him. If one develops love for Krishna by Krishna conscious activities, one can know the supreme absolute truth. But he who tries to understand God simply by logical arguments will not succeed, nor will he get a taste for unalloyed devotion. The secret is that one must submissively listen to those who know perfectly the science of God, and one must begin the mode of service regulated by the preceptor. A devotee already attracted by the name, form, qualities, etc. of the Supreme Lord may be directed to his specific manner of devotional service. He need not waste time in approaching the Lord through logic. The expert spiritual master knows well how to engage his disciples' energy in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, and thus he engages a devotee in a specific devotional service according to his special tendency. A devotee must have only one initiating spiritual master, because in the scriptures, acceptance of more than one is always forbidden. There is no limit, however, to the number of instructing spiritual masters one may accept. Generally, a spiritual master who constantly instructs a disciple in spiritual science becomes his initiating master later on. One should always remember that a person who is reluctant to accept a spiritual master and be initiated is sure to be baffled in his endeavor to get back to Godhead. One who is not properly initiated may present himself as a great devotee, but in fact he is sure to encounter many stumbling blocks on his path of progress toward spiritual realization, with the result that he must continue his term of material existence without relief. Such a helpless person is compared to a ship without a rudder, for such a ship can never reach its destination. It is imperative, therefore, that one accept a spiritual master if he at all desires to gain the favor of the Lord. The service of the spiritual master is essential. If there is no chance to serve the spiritual master directly, a devotee should serve him by remembering his instructions. There is no difference between the spiritual master's instructions and the spiritual master himself. In his absence, therefore, his words of direction should be the pride of the disciple. If one thinks that he is above consulting anyone else, including a spiritual master, he is at once an offender at the lotus feet of the Lord. Such an offender can never go back to Godhead. It is imperative that a serious person accept a bona fide spiritual master in terms of the Shastric injunctions. Sri Jiva Goswami advises that one not accept a spiritual master in terms of hereditary or customary, social, and ecclesiastical conventions. One should simply try to find a genuinely qualified spiritual master for actual advancement in spiritual understanding. Sri Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Raghunatha Sri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunatha. My instructing spiritual master are Sri Rupa Goswami, Sri Sanatana Goswami, Sri Bhatta Raghunatha, Sri Jiva Goswami, Sri Gopala Bhatta Goswami, and Srila Raghunath Dasa Goswami. Jaya Guru Shiksha Guru Ye Amara Tasa Pada Pada Padme Koti Namaskara. These six are my instructing spiritual masters, and therefore I offer millions of respectful obeisances unto their lotus feet. By accepting the six Goswamis as his instructing spiritual masters, the author specifically makes it clear that one should not be recognized as a Gaudiya Vaishnava if he is not obedient to them. And Bhakta Yata Srivas Pradana Pada Padme Sahasra Panama. There are innumerable devotees of the Lord, of whom Srivasa Thakur is the foremost. I offer my respectful obeisances thousands of times unto their lotus feet. Translation. Advaita Acharya is the Lord's partial incarnation, and therefore I offer my obeisances millions of times at his lotus feet. Ananda Raya Prabhu Swarupa Praksha Srila Nityananda Rama is the plenary manifestation of the Lord, and I have been initiated by him. I therefore offer my respectful obeisances unto his lotus feet. Gadadhar Panditari Prabhura Nija Shakti Tan Sabada Charane Moda Sahasra Panati. Translation. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the internal potencies of the Lord, of whom Sri Gadadhar Prabhu is the foremost. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Swayam Bhagavan Tanara Paro Vinde Ananta Pranama. Translation. Lord Shri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the personality of Godhead himself, and therefore I offer innumerable prostrations at his lotus feet. Translation. Having offered obeisances unto the Lord and all his associates, I shall now try to explain these six diversities in one. Purport. There are many unalloyed devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, all of whom are considered associates surrounding the Lord. Krishna should be worshipped with his devotees. The diverse principles are therefore the eternal paraphernalia through which the absolute truth can be approached. Although I know that my spiritual master is a servitor of Sri Chaitanya, I know him also as a plenary manifestation of the Lord. Purport. Every living entity is essentially a servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the spiritual master is also his servant. Still, the spiritual master is a direct manifestation of the Lord. With this conviction, a disciple can advance in Krishna consciousness. The spiritual master is non-different from Krishna because he is a manifestation of Krishna. Lord Nityananda, who is Balaram himself, the first direct manifestation or expansion of Krishna, is the original spiritual master. He helps Lord Krishna in his pastimes, and he is a servant of the Lord. Every living entity is eternally a servant of Sri Krishna Chaitanya. Therefore, the spiritual master cannot be other than a servant of Lord Chaitanya. The spiritual master's eternal occupation is to expand the service of the Lord by training disciples in a service attitude. A spiritual master never poses as the Supreme Lord himself. He is considered a representative of the Lord. The revealed scriptures prohibit one's pretending to be God, but a bona fide spiritual master is a most faithful and confidential servant of the Lord and therefore deserves as much respect as Krishna. Krishna Rupahana Shastra Mane Buddha Rupa Krishna Bhakta Gane. Translation. According to the deliberate opinion of all revealed scriptures, the spiritual master is non-different from Krishna. Lord Krishna, in the form of the spiritual master, delivers his devotees. Purport. The relationship of a disciple with his spiritual master is as good as his relationship with the Supreme Lord. A spiritual master always represents himself as the humblest servitor of the personality of Godhead, but the disciple must look upon him as the manifested representation of Godhead. Translation. One should know the Acharya as myself and never disrespect him in any way. One should not envy him, thinking him an ordinary man, for he is the representative of all the demigods. Purport. This is a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 11:17-27, spoken by Lord Krishna when he was questioned by Uddhava regarding the four social and spiritual orders of society. The Lord was specifically instructing how a brahmachari should behave under the care of a spiritual master. A spiritual master is not an enjoyer of facilities offered by his disciples. He is like a parent. Without the attentive servant of his parents, a child cannot grow to manhood. Similarly, without the care of the spiritual master, one cannot rise to the plane of transcendental service. The spiritual master is also called Acharya, or a transcendental professor of spiritual science. The Manu Samhita 2:140 explains the duties of an Acharya, describing that a bona fide spiritual master accepts charge of disciples, teaches them the Vedic knowledge with all its intricacies, and gives them their second birth. The ceremony performed to initiate a disciple into the study of spiritual science is called Upaniti, or the function that brings one nearer to the spiritual master. One who cannot be brought nearer to a spiritual master cannot have a sacred thread, and thus he is indicated to be a Shudra. The sacred thread is on the body of a Brahmana, Kshatriya, or Vaishya is a symbol of initiation by the spiritual master. It is worth nothing if worn merely to boast of high parentage. The duty of the spiritual master is to initiate a disciple with the sacred thread ceremony, and after his samskara, or purificatory process, the spiritual master actually begins to teach the disciple about the Vedas. A person born of Shudra is not barred from such spiritual initiation, provided he is approached by the spiritual master, who is duly authorized to award a disciple the right to be a Brahmana, if he finds him perfectly qualified. In the Vayu Purana, an Acharya is defined as one who knows the import of all Vedic literatures, abides by their rules and regulations, and teaches his disciples to act in the same way. Only out of his immense compassion does the personality of Godhead reveal himself as the spiritual master. Therefore, in the dealings of an Acharya, there are no activities but those of transcendental loving service to the Lord. He is the supreme personality of servitor Godhead. It is worthwhile to take shelter of such a steady devotee who is called Ashraya Vigraha, or the manifestation or form of the Lord of whom one must take shelter. If one poses himself as an Acharya, but does not have an attitude of servitorship to the Lord, he must be considered an offender, and this offensive attitude disqualifies him from being an Acharya. This bona fide spiritual master always engages in the unalloyed devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By this test, he is known to be a direct manifestation of the Lord and a genuine representative of Sri Nityananda Prabhu. Such a spiritual master is known as Acharya Deva, influenced by an envious temperament and dissatisfied because of an attitude of sense gratification. Mundaners criticize a real acharya. In fact, however, a bona fide acharya is non-different from the personality of Godhead, and therefore to envy such an acharya is to envy the personality of Godhead himself. This will produce an effect subversive of transcendental realization. As mentioned previously, a disciple should always respect the spiritual master as a manifestation of Sri Krishna. But at the same time, one should always remember that a spiritual master is never authorized to imitate the transcendental pastimes of the Lord. False spiritual masters pose themselves as identical with Sri Krishna in every respect to exploit the sentiments of their disciples. But such impersonalists can only mislead their disciples, for their ultimate aim is to become one with the Lord. This is against the principles of devotional cult. The real Vedic philosophy is Achinta Beta Beta Tattva, which establishes everything to be simultaneously one with and different from the personality of Godhead. Srila Raghunatha Das Goswami confirms that this is the real position of a bona fide spiritual master and says that one should always think of the spiritual master in terms of his intimate relationship with Mukunda, Sri Krishna. Srila Jiva Goswami, in his Bhakti Sandarbha 213 has clearly explained that a pure devotee's observation of the spiritual master and Lord Shiva as being one with the personality of Godhead exists in terms of their being very dear to the Lord, not identical with him in all respects. Following in the footsteps of Srila Raghunatha Dasa Goswami and Srila Jiva Goswami, later acharyas like Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur have confirmed the same truths. In his prayers to the spiritual master, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur confirms that all the revealed scriptures accept the spiritual master to be identical with the personality of Godhead, because he is very dear and confidential servant of the Lord. Gaudiya Vaishnavas therefore worship Srila Gurudev, the spiritual master, in the light of his being the servitor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In all ancient literatures of devotional service and in the more recent songs of Srila Narottam Das Thakur, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and other unalloyed devotee Vaishnavas, the spiritual master is always considered either one of the confidential associates of Srimati Radharani or a manifested representation of Srila Nityananda Prabhu. Die. Oh, gosh.